Now that upload logic should be added here in this else branch where we create a new user with email and password. And once we created such a new user, we then also want to upload an image for that user. Now we can't do this in one step because Firebase simply doesn't support this feature as part of its auth package. Instead, we first have to create a new user with Firebase auth package, and then thereafter we can store any extra data we want to store, like for example an uploaded image. And therefore here I will start by creating that user, and then once that's finished, in that else branch here, we can upload a new image by using the Firebase storage object. And this object here is made available by the Firebase storage Dart file from the Firebase storage package, which we installed before. So with this import added, we can use Firebase storage to access this globally available instance of this class in the end, which is managed behind the scenes by Firebase. And then on this instance, we can call a method called ref. And this simply gives us a reference of the Firebase cloud storage here that belongs to our project. So it gives us access to this Firebase cloud storage, you could say. Ref then returns this object that gives us access to this storage service in our Firebase project. And on this object, we can call child to in the end create a new path in that storage bucket that is in the end managed by Firebase. So a new path here in this folder, you could say. Now I'll name this path user_images, though this name is up to you. And I'll then call child again on this user images folder in the end that was created here. And by the way, if you're targeting a folder or a file that doesn't exist yet, it will be created on the fly by Firebase. So that's quite convenient. So here with this child call, I'm then diving into this user images folder that was created in our project through that storage service. And here, I don't want to create a subfolder, but instead a file, a JPEG file here, as it turns out. And the name of that file will be dynamic. So I'll dynamically inject it into this string with this special syntax here, about which you learned throughout the course. And here I want to use my user credentials. So this object, which we're getting back from calling create user with email and password in the end. And on those user credentials, on that object, we'll get a user property, which gives us access to some data of the user that was created here. So we can access .user here. And then on that user object, we can access UID to get hold of the unique ID of that user that was created by Firebase. Now, user could theoretically be null, but here it shouldn't be null. It should only be null if this fails, but in that case, we make it into this catch block here anyways. So therefore here we can add an exclamation mark after user to tell Dart that here it won't be null. And we'll then therefore create a new JPEG file that carries the user ID of that user to whom the image belongs as a file name, which I guess makes a lot of sense. And with this path created here, we can then upload the actual image that was taken to that path under that name. For that, I'll store this path here in a variable, a final variable that I'll name storage ref for storage reference. And then here we can use storage ref and call the put file method to upload a file to that path. Now put file wants a file object, which of course is very convenient because that's exactly what we have here. This selected image here is a file, and we know that it's not null because we're having this check here. So therefore down here for put file, we can target the selected image and upload that and add an exclamation mark because as mentioned here it won't be null. And then put file actually returns an upload task, which turns out to be a thing that we can await, so that we in the end wait for this upload to finish. And then we can use that same storage ref to also call getDownloadURL, which then will give us a URL that can be used later to display that image that was stored on Firebase. And that's really important. We're now not storing this image locally on the user's device, but instead we're storing it on some remote machine, on a server operated by Firebase with help of this Firebase storage service. And we need this download URL to then use that file thereafter in our app so that we can then display the uploaded image. Now getDownload URL returns a future that eventually yields a string, and that string will of course be that download URL. So here I'll await this as well, and then get my image URL as a result. And for the moment, I'll then just print this URL. Later, we're going to store it on Firebase along with some other user data. For the moment, I'll just upload and print this. And therefore now with all these steps taken, with all these things out of the way, we should be able to upload an image. If we now save this and reload, and we create a new account, we can take a picture here, see the preview, and now also enter all these other details for a user that doesn't exist yet. So make sure you use an email address that doesn't exist yet. And then here, if I press sign up, that's looking good. If we now go back to Firebase to this storage area and we reload this page here, we should see a user images folder, and then in there, this image here, which has this user ID as a name. And if we tap on it, we also see a preview here. And that proves that uploading the image indeed did work.